In this video I'm gonna build a kite foil board for my friend Drissi. He has been my colleague and surf buddy for years now. We go on holidays together to France every year. He is one of the most dedicated watermen I know. Every time there is wind or waves or anything, he's on the water enjoying it. For this project I'm gonna use a broken EPS blank that I got from a windsurf board. I was making a board with and for Tom, but we did something wrong and the blank broke in half, so maybe I can salvage it by making it into a foil board for Drissi. That didn't go as planned, Tom. So I started this project in December 2024. I printed a template from the internet and I tried to fit it on the broken half of the EPS foam. I realized soon enough that it wasn't gonna fit, so I had to think of a solution to still use this and not throw it in the bin. I started cutting the outlines and I found some blue foam from my home renovation that I could use for the nose. I made sure I had a straight line on the nose so I could glue the foam onto it. First I glued all the blue foam pieces together and then I started to roughly shape the board. The deck of the board looks pretty good now, so I'm gonna glue the blue foam to the nose. The blank is now long enough to continue the shaping process and drawing the outlines. I'm using the jigsaw to cut the outlines and then I continue the shaping process. You can see there's a lot of imperfections in the foam. I need to fill them with some pouring foam, which I'm doing now, and then sand them back smooth again. I create some concave in the bottom of the board because it looks cooler and it makes the board a little bit stronger because of the extra ridges. Then it's time to shape the rails. I really like an angled rail on a foil board. It looks really good when it's tightly laminated with carbon. The bottom of the board is now finished. I routed the hole for the foil box off camera. I forgot to film it, but as you can see it's in, but it's not glued in. I shaped the rails on the deck as a final step and then it's almost ready for lamination. I wasn't really satisfied with how the blank turned out. There are lots of imperfections, a few dimples and missing pieces of EPS in the blank, so I needed to fill them with some epoxy and micro balloons. I also had to glue the fin boxes into the foil box foam, so it became one sturdy piece. I used epoxy with an additive of micro balloons for a good solid bond. Now it's time to prepare the board for the lamination process. I grab my absorber and cut it roughly down to size. Then I grab my peel ply cloth and also cut it roughly down to size and lay it on the side. This saves time for the lamination process. When the epoxy is already curing, you don't have much time to do stuff. I tape the deck so no excess epoxy can run onto the deck. And then the most important part, I use this green tape and run it around the board a few times, sticking it to each other, so that I create a ridge that I can later see when the cured carbon fiber comes out of the vacuum bag where I have to cut my cut lab. The last step in the preparation is to lay down the carbon onto the board and roughly cut it down to size. Now the lamination process has really started. I'm cutting some carbon to reinforce the foil box, because that's where the mast of the foil meets the board, and so that's where all the forces of me pushing down on the foil, for example while pumping, meet the board, and there has to be a very stiff connection, so the more carbon the better. From this point on I have to work quick. I have to make sure the epoxy touches everything and all the carbon fibers are drenched with epoxy and fully saturated. And then I have to put it inside the vacuum bag with the added layers of peel ply and absorber cloth. I made a small mistake here by not putting the tape on this foil box beforehand. This means the epoxy is still curing in my cup, and that's not what you want, because you have to work even quicker to make sure the epoxy doesn't cure too fast. This time this wasn't a problem because my workflow is now pretty much dialed in. I'm now nice and fast with saturating the carbon fiber and wrapping it around the rails. This is where I add the peel ply, and after this step in the process I add the breather/absorber cloth. I quickly ask my girlfriend to help me with putting it inside the vacuum bag, and then it's done. And then disaster struck. Something very strange happened. Looks like the vacuum bag sucked too hard or something. You can see it sucked in the... What the fuck? The foam is very soft. Here the foam feels normal. Here the foam feels very, very soft. I can easily put dents into it while pressing. That's not normal. You can also see the vacuum bag pulled so hard it pulled into the foam, but normally that's not a... Here it's the same. A lot of time and effort wasted. Very big dent in my beautifully shaped angular rails. Very strange. Look at the structure of this foam. Very strange, never seen this before. I didn't change anything in my workflow. I did all the things I normally do. The only thing I changed is I bought some new epoxy. But that wouldn't do this. Would this be the problem? I would have noticed. Nah. Even the foam on the other side of the board, where the epoxy didn't even touch, was getting soft. Is it the vapors inside the bag that harm the EPS foam? I don't know. Shitty troubles. Shitty troubles. If you guys have any idea of how this happened, please let me know in the comments, because I'm clueless. Of course, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging with an ending like this. I'm in the process of shaping a new board, which will be shown in part 2, so make sure you watch part 2 where I completely start from scratch.